sword and musket is looking better than ever. Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlord's Napoleonic Wars mod is coming along so beautifully, and recently they've released a new developer blog along with some new gameplay and information at what we can expect for the future of this incredible modification. First of all, let's appreciate that artillery. Now, of course, artillery is a massive part of the Napoleonic Wars. In Mount & Blade Warband's Napoleonic Wars DLC, having an artillery regiment within the line battles was paramount, but within the Bannerlord mod, we can see that now it has finally been properly shown. The sound design is pretty good. I think for a Bannerlord mod, it sounds pretty amazing. As well, we can see the effects of those cannonballs smashing into the front lines of your infantry and musketmen. Troops ragdolling every which way when they've been headshot from afar using a great ball of iron. What a brutal sight to behold. Also, in this other video, is that a first-person cannon view? Are we going to be able to control it FPS style? I mean, I'm not sure if that's going to stay. It doesn't look quite as refined at the moment, but if that's an option, that would be absolutely awesome. Of course, at the moment, as we can see, it's just a reskin ballista from the main Bannerlord native game, but maybe that will change. Maybe that's just a placement, but I guess we'll find out in the future to see how it can be implemented to be used as a cannon rather than just a reskin ballista from native, because there are options. In the Warband Napoleonic Wars DLC, you had the option to load in round shot or scatter shot, canister if needs be for short range fire, or of course big balls of death and destruction for those long range snipes. Battle sizes are also looking better than ever. Now, I don't know if they've improved or expanded upon anything that we've seen in native, but the sheer scale that Bannerlord as a base game gives the player just looks so amazing when it is put into a Napoleonic Wars setting. Lines and lines of musketmen. Hopefully later on we'll see better looks and more in-depth research on the cavalry side, and of course the riflemen and skirmishers, but for now, musket lines with this kind of battle size looks fantastic, along with the much attention to detail that's been put into all the uniforms, but we'll get onto authenticity a little bit later. In terms of maps and scenes, Hougoumont was shown previously, but that has now been completed. The famous siege and battle in Waterloo. La Haye Saint, which was almost the brother little farmhouse in the same battle, is also in progress. These two scenes can be combined in the same map, having Hougoumont and La Haye Saint in a full Waterloo-style, massive all-out map, being able to recreate it. It was a massive part of the Napoleonic Wars DLC for Warband, having these role-play battles at Waterloo. Troops would defend the farmhouses as they did on the day in 1815. But not only can they be used in one big battle, but also loaded up as two separate scenes. Maybe you wanted to do smaller skirmishes, using it for training, or even doing a small, tiny army siege-style warfare, just using the farmhouses. There's so many options for that kind of thing. But as I mentioned, historical research is going to be a big factor on this, and that has been greatly improved. Not just with the troops, but also the uniforms that they're wearing. This is also going to be something that we're going to not only see in the multiplayer aspect, but also single player. Speaking of single player, that's the main thing at the moment. It's just custom battles that were being shown, showing us some of the troops and formations, the sound design and the weaponry that we're going to be able to use. Of course, Tailwolves haven't released the full multiplayer servers yet, so that portion isn't really going to be able to be developed, at least fully, until those are released. So the single player aspect is the main thing that's being focused here. But overall, this mod is going to be very heavily supported by a multiplayer community. The Napoleonic Wars always has in Mount & Blade, so whilst there may be single player elements, I think the main focus later on going into the future will be those multiplayer line battles, clan events, training, scenes, sieges, and all that kind of stuff. We also get shown off some of the voice actors that will be in the game. When you're commanding your troops, getting them to hold the line, to present and fire, they're all people shouting those orders, and they have custom ones that are being put into this mod. And wait, who's that in the background? That's it. That guy's got a sexy voice. As a side note, I'm doing the in-game voice acting as a volunteer, just for a bit of fun. I have no financial gain, of course, because like most mods for Bannerlord, it's all completely free. Doing this out of complete passion and a love for building a Napoleonic Wars style for Bannerlord. Hence why me actually making videos on this doesn't give me any gain through the mod itself, because I'm not being paid for voice acting in this mod. but I like shouting. And of course, I just wanted you to know that whenever you command your troops to left face, that voice will remind you of my disgusting channel, and I hope it pops into your head and haunts you forever while you're playing this modification. Animations, additionally, are looking fantastic, and I think this is one of the most important parts of a mod like this. Changing a complete overhaul into a new era, whether it is into ancient Rome or Napoleonic Wars, even pushing it as far into more modern warfare like World War I and World War II, as we have seen in warband modifications. Animations are a massive part of immersing you into that period, because it's all well and good having the right equipment, having the right uniforms, and even the right scenery and all that kind of thing. But if it's really clunky, and if you're introducing something like guns that are still doing crossbow reloading animations, it's not going to immerse you. You're not going to feel like you're holding a musket if they do the same animation as they would as reloading a crossbow or a bow in Mount and Blade Warband. So that has been completely overhauled. Initially, that was the case, but now, since we're in the newer version in 1.7, they've been working with Tailwords in order to improve these animations, and my god, they look good. Look at this, reloading the muskets. Look how fantastic it looks. It actually looks like they're reloading a proper musket. Putting the spitball in, putting the ramrod in. Oh, it looks as sexual as ever. As mentioned, apparently the devs have been working closely with Tailwords, and things like the weapon switching that has been a recent addition to the base game from Tailwords has helped them improve the animations within their modification itself. Another thing to note on the animation side, look how good the melee with the muskets look. It's kind of iconic at this point that when Warband had its Napoleonic Wars DLC, the melee kind of changed a little bit. With swords, it was 4 directions of block and attack. But with muskets, it was only 2, up and down. And that has been implemented into this Bannerlord mod, and it looks as good as ever. You wouldn't notice that everything has had to change for Bannerlord. You wouldn't notice that this was a completely different modification than the Warband one in terms of animations. They've got it on par with the Warband DLC at this point, which is fantastic work, especially when that DLC was paid for and it was supported by Tailwords. But now the melee with the muskets in this sort of musket mod looks, it looks beautiful, and I can't wait to see how these animations improve. Of course, there is still a lot to work on. There are so many aspects to the Napoleonic Wars that I think they want to add that we haven't been shown yet. Currently, it is basic musketry and cannons. But what about cavalry or dragoons? What about shooting while you're on horseback? What about skirmishes and rifles? How will they work and differ? I can't wait to see the Baker rifle uniforms, role-playing as Sharp at the Battle of Waterloo, seeing Napoleon over there and thinking, what a disappointment. There's also more to be said about the factions and the nations that are going to be brought in. The main focus looks to be France and the UK at the moment. Kind of makes sense. But what about Austria? What about Russia? What about Prussia? What about all these different nations that we haven't got yet that have been in the Warband Napoleonic Wars DLC? They're something that we're going to have to wait until the future to see. So far though, it is coming along brilliantly. Whilst I'm speculating on what could come later on, the progress has been better than I ever could have hoped for, and it is looking to be an incredibly polished mod, and it could be rivaling the quality of the DLC that we got back in 2012. I mean, for example, look at all the people working on this. As I mentioned, a lot of people are coming on as volunteers to do a bit of voice acting, including me, that aren't full-time people working on this mod. But look at all the coders, the 3D artists, the sound designers, the directors, all of these people coming together to create a fantastic passion project to build this new modification to bring Napoleonic Wars to Mount and Blade 2 Bannerlord. And me, I cannot wait to see where it goes, because Sword and Musket has come a long, long way. But there's still a lot of progress to be going into the future. There's still a lot that hasn't been done, and I will be sure to keep everybody updated. So make sure you stick around the channel for that. Space. Guys, someone's done a thing. Block, what are you doing? This has to be some black magic at this point. Welcome to Star Wars Space Battles within Mount and Blade 2 Bannerlord. Our good friend Block a few days ago